Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting Tuesday night Eventide stream. How is everyone doing here this fine Tuesday evening? I hope you are having a wonderful week. I know I am. The past few weeks have been, well, quite momentous. Last week saw the end of the Kickstarter I was running for Hope Finder, and this week saw the release of the first part of Wolfren's Fate to all of you. I'm hoping that you've grabbed it already and had a chance to look at it. I am excited to get it out to everyone. It's the first kind of, frankly, fully polished, professional-looking piece of RPG work that I've done for Minotaur Games. I did do, many years ago, I did some PDFs in the early days of Pathfinder 1st Edition. That were just kind of me playing around with monster ideas and kind of learning the ropes on how to make PDFs and how to do my own publishing. And frankly, looking back at them, they're very amateurish, right? You know, they're not very well produced. The art's me, the writing's me, the editing's me. They were made with a budget of $0. Whereas this had a budget of several $1,000s in art and edit, and I've taught myself professional layout and you know, really kind of worked hard to make a polished, finished-looking product. So that's what we have. Part 1 of Wolfren's Fate is now out to all of you. Everyone in the Lord and Master tier got it for free. All of the folks in the Adventurer tier get it at half price. So that is the setup. I hope folks have grabbed it. I see that many of you have. Right now, I think about a quarter of the patrons have already grabbed their copy. I can kind of see as you redeem the codes. So I've been watching that. So tonight, I figured I'd open up the floor to questions if anyone has any questions about it. And while you're thinking about those or typing them up, you know, I've got the adventure right here. And I figured, you know, you've all seen it. So this is the finished version, or very close to it. This may be a slightly earlier draft, and I'll show you why I grabbed a slightly earlier draft here in just a second. This is almost done. This was what I had almost last week. There were some other things I needed to do and a few other things I needed to tighten up. But as I was working on the file, this was Sunday, I decided to do a check on some pre-flight issues. So if I were just making this as a PDF, it doesn't matter. None of this matters, right? You can just PDF it. The export settings are not super critical, you know, and you can just kind of get it done and get it out the door. But I knew that I wanted to make this something that people could get print on demand if they wanted. Now, print on demand is not the highest quality. It's not the same as offset printing. Offset printing is when it actually goes to a full print production facility and they print generally thousands of copies. I don't think I'm ready for that with this adventure. This is only one part of the adventure, and, you know, doing a full offset print for this is maybe not the right call. But I still wanted to make it so that folks who wanted a print copy could get a print copy. Now, that meant laying it out slightly differently than the PDF. There's two reasons for that. One, Lightning Source requires, that's the print house that DriveThruRPG uses. Lightning Source requires that the final page be blank, entirely blank. That causes a small problem. Why? Because this is 32 pages. As you can see right here, 32. 32 is the end, and it has to be divisible by 4. The number of pages has to be divisible by 4. Why? Well, because each piece of paper that gets bound into it is actually 11 by 17, has a front and a back. So it's actually 4 pages with each piece of paper that gets bound into the product. So as a result, it has to be divisible by 4. So I either had to add 3 blank pages at the end of this, and then the 4th page being the 4 blank pages, or I had to change the layout. So that's what I actually did for the print version. So I'm working on getting this print version done. And so I needed to change it. So it was 1 page shorter than this. So this last page here had to be blank. The only way to do that was to take Appendix E here, chop out the treasure list. The treasure list is just gone. And then condense down the experience point award so that I could get the OGL in here. That was literally my only option. It's not ideal, but for this version, it's not the worst thing in the world. I lose one appendix that has marginal utility, and instead, gain that blank page. So that there was that I had to do. And there was another problem as well. I'll tell you about the joys of figuring out how to do printing on your own. So, I don't have a degree in graphic design. I am self-taught, right? Everything in this layout is something that I created or I ordered. The page treatments I made, all of the fonts, all of the text, all that stuff was laid in by me. Obviously, the artists did the art, but I did the maps and I did all the graphic design. So, there's that. But there are aspects of this that you don't really know until you do it, right? So one of the things that I quickly came to learn about was the fact that ink density is a thing. So, what's ink density? Well, when you do printing, it's not like your home printer that just spools everything out. It's a little bit more complicated than that. The bigger printers have these kind of 4 nozzle print jets that print C, M, Y, and K, right? The various colors. Cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Black being K. And each one of them can print up to 100% ink volume. But the paper can't handle all 4 of them doing 100% ink volume, because then it turns the paper into a soggy mess. So the maximum ink coverage is a percentage you have to pay attention to. And I didn't. So Sunday, I'm like, I should check and see what my ink coverage is, because I'm assuming it's fine, right? Why would it be weird? I can't imagine that it would be problematic. So I open up my document. Let me go ahead and bring that back up. And I go over here to, there's a button here called Output Previewer. And what happens is I can turn on a thing that checks my total area ink coverage. And it'll highlight anything that's above the threshold. So in this case, anything that's above 240% was a problem. So let me go ahead and turn on my total ink coverage here. Oh, that's not good. This green up here, this green up near the top, these are all at 264, 265. The black of the logo is at 284, right? That's because it's, 70, 80% on all 4 of the colors. But it gets worse than that. It's everywhere. So, that's a problem. At least my maps weren't over. But the vast majority of the document had ink oversaturation. Most of my handouts, that image in its entirety. So, yeah. That's a bit of a problem. So Sunday night, I ended up having to dig around to figure out how to convert these. Because there are ways to bring down the ink volume while still maintaining basically the same color. And the challenge here is that when you create images, when you create graphics using RGB, which most programs are automatically set to as a default, and then you convert them to CMYK, it just uses whatever's convenient, which oftentimes leads to ink oversaturation. So, I had to run every single image through a processing step. I had to take them all the way back to Photoshop. I had to reprocess all of the images, running them through a color profile manager, that brought all of their image colors back down to size. Now, I'm going to go ahead and open up the finished document here. Which is this guy. Oh, wait. No, this isn't it. I need to go to the print interior. Where is it? That was the PDF. For the PDF, I didn't have to do that. So... So, you won't see any change. I just turned it on. Because I already went through and fixed all the images. So now there's no grain anywhere. So that setting is on right now. But yeah. Here you see what the final page will look like in the printed edition. So yeah, that was about 4 hours of my Sunday. Thing to learn for the future. Check your ink coverages when you're doing your initial processing, when you're bringing the images in and checking them. It doesn't take very long, but doing it later meant that I had to fix them, I had to re-export them, I had to save them, I then had to relink them all. Wasn't a huge deal, but still was some hours I'd love to get back. So I see we have a question here. So going through the dungeon with the other two groups, the PCs are only awarded experience points for things they defeat. I assume the other threats are taken care of when the other group goes through the area. Yeah, generally speaking, the players get XP for the things they defeat. The other groups don't actually defeat much. That's the thing about the other two groups. They might damage a thing or weaken it, but the players still get to go in and beat it, and I still give them full XP for it. That's just for out of convenience more than anything. They still have to face the threat, and honestly, the fact that they have to go through the entire first floor of the dungeon without resting makes it that all of those things should be worth a little bit more anyway. Follow-up question: can the players still do the activities that the major domo activities to calm the major domo in rooms that the other adventurers clear out? Yes, because the other groups don't soothe the major domo. The major domo is still upset. So the players can go around and soothe the major domo no matter what the other groups. So yeah, that was fun. Spending several hours going through doing color correction and finishing up some things. I needed to do a few things to make it so that the pagination would work right, especially in the PDF. I'm a big fan of having the kind of 2 up, that way it looks like a spread of pages, but to make that line up with how the book actually works is a little tricky. That's why the special thanks to patrons is all the way in the beginning, because I was able to use that page to thank all of you. And I did include every single patron who was a lord or master in the past year, even if they have since canceled or moved. I thanked all of them. They all contributed. Anyone who contributed money at those tiers got their name in this one. So, there's that. And they're in there actually in order of contribution, if you're curious. That's they're within their own subgroups, but within that subgroup, that is order of contribution. How much folks have given to help make this a reality. It was scary today. I started doing my taxes and looking at all the money from Patreon and how much I've spent. They're very close. they're almost the same number, which is good. That's kind of what I want. And all the money from the beginning of this year is about to go into a giant art order. So busy. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. And as it turns out, it's turning out pretty well. I'm very happy with how this first adventure came together. I'm excited to get the second part fully rolling here. This coming week will be the final session of part 2 for both groups. So this Thursday will be the final session for my Thursday group, and then the following Monday will be the final session for my Monday group, and then I'm totally done with part 2. So that's fun. We're finishing up the Eventide Festival. You know, I just realized there was something I haven't checked here today. I'm going to go ahead and do this while I'm sitting here chatting with all of you. I want to see if I can order the print version yet. So when you load a print version up to drive-thru, it needs to go through several steps. The first, it needs to be checked and approved by Drive-Thru RPG, and then it gets sent to the printer, and the printer needs to do a bunch of printer pre-proofing steps on it. And I have not checked today to see whether or not it's... Because once it's ready, I need to order a sample proof. And once that is done, then, and only then, can I put it up for sale. So it's currently not yet approved. It has been sent to the printer for validation, but it has not finished that process. That process can take several days. So, I just get to... how goes part 3? Not as well as I would like. Honestly, between finishing up the Kickstarter and getting this part out, my writing on part 3 is stalled a little bit. That said, it has to start soon. So, I am at a point now where the writing for part 3 needs to happen in the next 2 weeks. So, or at least the beginnings of it. So, I'm getting on that. That's going to be my next big task. So, I've got this done. This is now going off to do its thing. I have the art order for part 2 that's almost ready to send out, and I've contacted my artist, and Frost, who did the art for part 1, is excited to do the art for part 2. So I'm going to keep on rolling with the same artist. So I'm going to work with her on that here in the coming weeks. I also have my editor waiting on part 2. I need to finish the text for part 2, but that's not too far off. So there's that. And then... part 3 needs to be written. So the order of operations on this is probably get the art order out the door, because that needs to go. Then work on the beginnings of part 3 so that I have content to run for my playtests. While they're going through the beginning parts of part 3, go back to part 2 and finish writing it. That way I can get it to my editor. That'll keep everything moving. At the same time, I'm also finalizing up the Hope Finder files to get those to well. So I'm kind of juggling like 4 different projects right now, or 4 different pieces of different projects right now. It's a constant kind of jam of just moving between projects. The upside to this is that I kind of work best when I have multiple projects on my plate. It allows me to kind of, if I hit a log jam on one thing but I'm still feeling creative, I can just move to a different project where there isn't a log jam. So I can maintain kind of being, you know, making progress, even if it's not on the thing that really needs the most of it right now, but that's just the nature of it, right? You got to kind of move on whatever you can move on. So, pretty exciting. Yeah. I don't know. Folks have any other questions? I'm happy to answer them and keep chatting about the adventure. I'm really excited to get some folks to play it. Are any of you planning on running it anytime soon? Up to this point, the only people who have played this is me and my 2 playtest groups. So, you all can be some of the first. From here, I think I'm going to look to release part 1 to the public, possibly right around PaizoCon. That might be a good time to do it. It's March right now. That's at the end of May. So that is, 2-ish months from now. That gives me plenty of time to make sure that the print copy works, right? That the print copy is ready so that people who want it POD can get it POD. I think the print copy, by the way, will probably be around $15. POD is a little bit more expensive than I would normally like for this sort of thing. And it'll be the sort of thing where the PDF's $10, the print is $15. And if you want both, it's like $20. So we'll probably do something like that for the public. Andrew, excited to hear that you're thinking about running it. I look forward to hearing how your group does. I'm sure you'll get through it a lot faster than my playtest group. They took like 4 or 5 months to get through it, but we were only playing for 3 hours once every other week. And with a group of, you know, jackals who like to role play and get off track. So so yeah. I'm very excited. I think looking back at this, I had my chances to change and fix kind of everything I wanted, and this came out kind of just about perfect. Yeah, Laura, I can understand wanting part 2 to come out as well, right? I mean, I'm with you on that. I got to make it go as quickly as I can. The upside is the writing on it is almost done, and then I've already been through these harder later parts now. The upside to the way I'm doing this is when it comes time to lay out part 2, all of my work is already done. I don't have to redefine the styles and the colors and the fonts. I already know about the color problems. And I can really just kind of leap to the quick layout part, right? The layout for this took several hours. Grand total, I think I probably spent around 8 hours in the layout. But I was learning a lot as I went along. I was figuring out about what colors to use for fonts and how to position things the right way and how to make it all kind of pop. And that took a while. Oh, by the way, folks did mention this. I suppose I should show you. I did come up with a smaller logo. Let's see. Where can you see it? Oh, you can see it here. So the logo in the upper left is different. I made a new Eventide logo that basically just shifted all the colors into the letters. It's not quite the same logo that you would see, say, in the beginning. And if I go all the way back here, this one transitions from night to sunset. Which is, cheeky, because that is in fact what Eventide is. That moment between sunset and but the page logo is all sunset. This makes it pop a lot more so that you can, see it. I took that feedback to heart that logo was getting kind of lost up there in the corner, being kind of dark. So let's see. Andrew J, are there any future plans for other adventures? Yes. But right now, I think my main focus has to be the adventure, the player's guide, and the GM's guide. Those are in different stages of completion. The player's guide is close. The GM's guide still needs a fair bit of work. Andrew B, I can appreciate wanting to avoid spoilers. And thank you for your support and not taking advantage of all the stuff that I've been offering, because really this Patreon is about the kind of behind the scenes look at how this stuff gets made, right? Honestly, the end results, here are the PDFs, right? Those are a big benefit to being a patron here, but I consider a big part of it just a chance to see how this stuff gets made. I don't really feel like anyone else shows this in depth how the process works and what the steps are and kind of how I iterate and how I create. I've never really kind of done anything this in depth before. So I hope folks are finding that informative and interesting. There's that. So yeah. I do plan on doing other adventures at some point in the future. I mean, maybe a lot more. I don't know. There's some kind of far out there opportunities that I'm still trying to see if they're going to come to fruition. And if they do, that'll change a lot about this campaign. But these sorts of things take time, and they're very delicate and are more than likely to just fall through a knot. So, for now, I'm going to keep tinkering around with it and making my thing. I do find it, considering how much my day job takes up my time and how this is really just something I get to noodle with and tinker with when I have spare moments. it's taken a long time to get to this point. You know, I was checking the calendar, and I relaunched the Patreon in March of last year. The very first Patreon stream from the relaunch was on March 8th of last year. So we're at just over the 1 year mark, and the first PDF has now come out. That's a long time. But I'll tell you the truth. That's a shorter window than Paizo takes to get there. It may not seem that way. You know, but you know, when we're working on things at Paizo, they have an outlay of like usually 18 months. So, you know, we're also talking about bigger books and bigger projects with a lot more people working on them. But a lot of these things take a year or more to get to done. And so I look back at the past year and I'm like, God, why did it take so long? And then I remember, well, not really that long. In the grand scheme of things, the way RPG products get made, this is a little different because I'm printing and going directly to my consumer. So I get to skip a big chunk of this. But usually, like, if you're looking at how a product gets made, it starts with the idea of, here's what we want to make. Okay, cool. Then that gets turned into an outline. The outline has to get approved. A whole bunch of people need to see it. They give comments. There's iteration. There's changes. Then from there, it goes to outlining. Once it's fully outlined, the next step is to take it to writers and get it written. Then eventually it comes in and starts getting developed, and art orders get written. And once it's done being developed and the art is in, then it goes to usually pre-layout editing, and then it goes to art, or graphic design. Graphic design will then lay it out after it's been pre-layout edited, and then it'll come out of art, and it'll get edited again, and get ready for the final step, which is then final print proofing and a final copy edit to make sure it's ready to go to the printer. Then it goes to the printer, needs to spend several months there, then it needs to get shipped, then it goes to a warehouse, then it goes out. Meanwhile, at about 6 to 8 months out, it gets solicited with all the major book trades, and they put in orders. That way when it comes in, we know how many go out. All of these large, complicated steps, most of that stuff I'm not doing, right? So for me, a year is a long time considering all the pieces I was able to skip, right? I don't have to solicit it. I don't have to do multiple edit passes. If I wanted to tighten it up more, I would probably get another editing pass on it. You get 2 editing passes. But frankly, for the amount of, frankly, for the potential sales of something like this for a small indie publisher, having 1 full professional editing pass is about all I'm going to be. Now, of course, I did an editing pass as I wrote it, but I'm a designer, not an editor. So I have plenty of kind of blind spots and things that I'm not great at when it comes to catching things in grammar. Ask Tessa about how many commas she had to get rid of. And you'll quickly learn where some of my mistakes are. I'm not sure she would actually say anything, but she did a great job, though. She tightened up the text. She cleaned some things up. She asked a bunch of great questions about things that seemed unclear. By the time it was all said and done, I was able to kind of wrap it up and finish it. So, yeah, but I also don't have to send it to a printer and wait 4 months for it to go to the printer and then come back to me. So there's a bunch of steps I get to skip, but nonetheless, considering this is something I was doing my side time, by myself for the most part, and playtesting it as I went along, a year from getting things started to getting the first things out is not terrible. A little slow, but not terrible, especially considering some of the challenges I've had. So Andrew, yeah, I'm thrilled you're excited about the setting. I'm excited to get more people interested in the setting itself. One of my big goals for this is to get to a point where I have Wolfren's Fate, the Player's Guide, and the GM's Guide, and I can print them all as 2, as 3 books, right? There's part of me that even thinks that maybe I could do it as a hardcover. The Player's Guide, the GM's Guide, and the Adventure all in one book. But there's another part of me that thinks that maybe I just put, I do 2 soft covers. It's all just soft covers, right? Maybe that would work. I don't know, but I do think that the Hope Finder may have been a thing that kind of pulled at my time from this, but it was critical because it taught me how to do this process, right? How to budget for it and how to better prepare for it. So when I do decide to do a full print edition funded via Kickstarter, I'm not guessing, right? I'm not figuring it out for the first time, because my last Kickstarter was like in 2014, so it's been a long time since I ran my first Kickstarter, and it was good to do this one. So you know, part of it's me just learning how things have changed, and I'll be able to bring that to this as well, which will be pretty exciting. I do think that if I, you know, play my cards right, this can be a pretty big deal, and maybe be something that, you know, allows me to sustain more products and more projects going forward. And maybe even start hiring writers to design things in the world and serving more as a traditional publisher, taking their work, paying them, and then editing it, adding art, and publishing it myself. So, yeah, the original game was a game called Pirate Loot. It's a real simple kind of card game that I played around with and had some fun with, and yeah, long time ago. Now, 2014 seems like forever ago. I actually sold a fair number of copies of that this past year. I don't know why. Out of the blue. I know it was on sale at Paizo for a little while. I think it still might be, to be honest. I don't think I ever asked them to take the price back. I have so many copies left that it's, I printed like a full 5,000, right? You know, which is way more than, I probably only should have printed like 3.5. It would have cost me more per unit, but I still would have saved money. Anyway, so yeah, that's the other thing I learned, you know, with Hope Finder, is I won't be printing more copies than I need by very much. So if folks didn't get it in the Kickstarter, they probably won't get it at all, because I'm not going to print a ton extra. Fair enough. I appreciate that, Alara. That's great. So yeah, some pirate fun. It's a light game. It's a game you can teach, you know, kids pretty easy, which was kind of my intent. I didn't want a really heavy game. I've been known for heavy games, and I wanted to kind of do something lighter and fun, and just kind of quick take that, kind of play some cards, do some gaming. Pretty straightforward little game. So, yeah. What else I got going on right now? I don't know. There's not much news other than this. I mean, this has been my all-consuming drive here over the past week, was getting this. I had the Kickstarter that ended, and once that was ended, I'm in kind of a lull period while that finalizes. But once it's finalized, then I'm going to be, you know, off to the races on that. And I'm kind of cycling between Eventide stuff and finishing up those files as well. So, but I wanted to make sure this got out, because I wanted it out, you know, about a month ago. But life had a way of getting in the way, as it often does. But yeah, so I don't know if everyone noticed, but I decided to go with The Tower Opens as the title for part 1. I'd been playing around with, you know, Wolfren's Home, or the Wizard's Home, or the Laboratory or something, and I was like, you know what? Let me do something that sounds a bit more mysterious. And I had played around with that on the cover earlier, and I just decided, you know what? That's the right title. The right title is something that sounds mysterious and possibly dangerous. The Tower Opens. What does that mean? And I thought it was a better name for part 1. So I did decide to go that way. Alara, that's exciting. I'm really happy that folks are thrilled to see it. It's been a long time coming, and I'm happy that folks are finally getting a chance to kind of dig into this and really kind of see the fruit of this. It's easy for me to forget that I'm the only one who's seen this text, right? You know, other than my editor. My players haven't seen it. And I haven't shared the rough drafts with all of you, because they were too rough. And honestly, some of my early writings, I'm just, oof. that needs work, right? You know, and some of it ends up being a little notey and a little sketchy until I play it once or twice, and then I'm like, okay, now I know what. So, yeah, you know, you all are the first people to see this, other than me and my editor, and that's pretty exciting. It's a little scary, right? You know, I still get, even though I've, you know, sold a lot of books over the years. I still get nervous whenever I release something that's kind of putting myself out there on a limb. And this qualifies, right? You know, this is me putting something out there that, you know, is frankly new and different. There haven't been a lot of folks making settings for P2. You know, we there are some third-party publishers making some stuff, but I don't think anyone's attempted to make a setting that's purely for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Oftentimes you see folks who have settings for other games that they'll do like, oh, we'll do a Pathfinder 2nd Edition conversion. And I get the appeal of that because all your art's done and most of your writing's done and all you have to do is change the stats and rules, which is not as hard as writing everything from scratch. So, so Alara mentioned something really interesting here that she's going to be excited when the player's guide is out. I do have a draft version of the player's guide. It doesn't have art. It's kind of half finished. That I've been giving to my players so that they have the rules and content that they need. I think I might polish that up and actually release it to higher tier backers. All of the material is on the website, but I understand that the website isn't as easy to reference. Granted. And isn't easy for folks to use at the table. So I do think I want to try and get that at least polished up early. It'll be an early draft. It's not for sale. It won't be for sharing. It'll be just for backers to get a kind of handy reference document for all that material. There's a few changes I want to make, a few passes I want to do on that. Like I need to do a pass on the Penumbras. Penumbras needs another revision. Because it's not quite performing as I want. I know I've said this a couple times. I just haven't had the time to do it yet. So, yeah, the player's guide is really important. And the GM's guide I'm filling out as time permits right now. There will come a time when I focus fire on the GM guide, but it is not yet this day. But, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on that stuff. So, yeah. That's where we're at, folks. That's all there is. That's all there's. The news that's fit to print. Pretty happy with this. Pretty happy with how this has turned out. Love the art for Havanok. That's one of my favorite things. Just came together perfectly. Oh, that's great. By the way, make sure to grab the map PDF. That is in there with all your digital files. It has all the playmats that are in here untagged, so they're easy to use. It also hides all the secrets and provides all their reveals as separate tiles, so that you can just place those on and have the reveal happen when it's time for it to happen. So that's pretty cool. Good stuff. I am really interested to see how people solve solution 14. There is only one right solution. But there's a bunch of different ways you can kind of figure it out. So I'm going to be excited to hear about people struggling with that. That's good stuff. This is, as I said, this is the print edition. Pages print to free up page 32. Yeah, I'm excited to let some other folks play the Penumbras and stuff as well. Like I said, it needs a little bit more oomph. It's fallen a little behind the curve where I want it power-wise. So, all of my groups, both my groups are now 3rd levels. So we're gonna start seeing some more power out of them, but we're not quite. And the Penumbrist oftentimes having a little trouble getting his shadow motes and stuff to fire off, which is something we got to work on. So, all right, folks. Well, that's about all I have here tonight. I've got another stream starting up here in a bit. I'll stick around here for just a moment if anybody has any last-minute questions. But that's kind of where we're at right now. I'm hoping to do a Lord and Master stream this Saturday again. Not sure 100% what I'm going to talk about, but there's probably some inside baseball and kind of deep stuff that I can play around with or chat with folks about. I'll figure something out. But that'll be this Saturday at 3 p.m., assuming I can come up with some content and schedule some time to make it happen. It's always the challenge. Sometimes my Saturdays go a bit off the rails. So, yeah. There we go, everybody. I hope you all have enjoyed this. I hope you were enjoying, wandering through The Tower Opens, Part 1 of Wolfren's Fate. Check it out. If you haven't already, go grab it. Run it. Let me know how it goes. Make sure to come back to the Discord and post updates for folks. I think you might want to give those a spoiler tag if you can. I think you can do that in Discord. That way folks aren't spoiled if they don't want to be. Yeah, that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to hearing your stories of playing through it. And meanwhile, I'll keep burning hard on Part 2 and getting into Part 3. Let's see here. Hold on. Just started blasting through Part 3 and give us a status report. Yeah, no, I got to work on it. Yeah, that's where I'm at. You know, one thing that I did realize about some other perks, people at the Lord tier have been accruing freelance from me at 100 words a month. So for some of you who have been doing this now for 12 months, you have 1,200 words built up with me, which is enough to get, I think it's almost enough to get an archetype or a small encounter. So some of you have really earned a lot of words. I'm going to be posting an update to that to the Lord's tier members. You all have a pretty big perk coming, and for those of you who have been doing this for a while, you have enough words to get a serious amount of content. So we'll be talking about that. I do want folks to start using those perks, just so that I don't have so many words outstanding that I get hit with it all at once. But yeah, I figured, Alara. Andrew, yeah, we can chat about it, right? You know, I know folks are excited about that, and I want to make sure folks get some of their perks. I think this Saturday, one thing I might do is do a bit of a brainstorm to flesh out some things in Wormbone, because I need some more shop names and stuff. So maybe I'll do that. It'll come with a big disclaimer that any idea you give me is mine, and I get to own it, because otherwise I can't take it. Yeah. Can I make you a gnome bard character? Hey, they're your words. If you want me to make you a gnome bard character, I'll do it. Begrudgingly. It won't be for Eventide, though, because there aren't any gnomes. Alright, folks, that's all I have today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all your support. You made all this possible. I want to be clear. This wouldn't have happened without all of the support here on Patreon. So, thank you very much for that. I hope you enjoyed Part 1 of Wolfren's Fate. There's more to come. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.